All right, so quads with some hamstrings, quads with some hamstrings. I can hit hams twice a week. I can't hit quads twice a week. That's where my issue lies. At least if I really wreck quads, I'm talking multiple solid sets of leg press, some other sort of pressing movement, and then leg extensions as both the starting warm-up movements and the finishing burnout movements. By the time the 3 days have passed, quads are they're still taking some residual damage. It just takes a little while. Hamstrings not so much. My hams are fresh, and I just really wrecked hamstrings on my last leg day, which was just a hamstring day without any quads. So today is going to be a full-on leg day, so this one's gonna take a while, and I don't really have an issue with that. Some guys, when they talk about their workouts, it's if it takes you longer than 45 minutes to finish a leg day, you're not going hard enough. Which is kind of strange, because the same logic I also see in reverse, where people say, if you're not spending at least 2 hours a day hitting legs, then you're not going hard enough. So it's it's like a twofold logic. You're either not doing enough volume, or you're not training quickly and intense enough to get it done, and it's taking you that long because you're not going hard. Just a purely opinion-based kind of bro sciencey logic there. But assuming I'm going to stick with my standard volume-ish, which usually ends up being around 8 or so sets per muscle group, then that'll put me at 8-ish for quads, 8-ish for hamstrings, which I might actually pull back on hamstrings a little, because some of the quad movements that you do, especially pressing, can get your hamstrings involved. Leg press especially. And it depends on the leg press too, because a hip press, I've pulled my hamstring doing hip press too heavy. So yeah, if I really kill my quads and then I go to finish hamstrings afterward, by the first set of hamstrings, my hamstrings could already be pretty cooked, and I might only need like 4 sets to get that feeling of completion. So it's use your best judgment at that point. And then some adductors, some calves, and that'll be all. So adductors, not abductors. I want to thicken up the inside of my quads. I don't really need to work on the back side of my glutes. Or I guess would that be kind of the inner outs? I don't know. Whichever portion of your glutes is getting worked in an abductor, I just don't really need to do. One movement that I forget who told me this, but I was talking to a guy, and this is more so purely aesthetic, but he was really hyping up working your hip flexors more directly, so that when you hit like a standing front pose, you can see your quads kind of thicken up all the way to the top. And I hadn't really thought about that before, so that might actually be something I look into. I know there's a machine at a gym pretty close to here that has a hip flexor. Well, I guess, no, there's a gym that has a hip flexor machine. So that's where you're raising your knee up to your body, right? And you kind of go up against this pad. I could see that. I don't know. I feel like I haven't been missing out on hip flexor training size-wise, but maybe I actually have been, and I just don't know what I'm missing out on. I guess we'll see. But quads, hamstrings, adductors, calves, this is going to take a little while. So this will probably be from start, first set, to finishing. I could see 2 hours, probably not 2 hours. I could see an hour and a half. It depends on if I spend a little bit too long chatting. Adductors pretty quick, because I don't need to sit here and amp myself up for a set of adductors. I really just kind of have to do it. Your adductors are kind of a relatively weak muscle, or let's just say unused muscle. So to even just sit and do 10 sets that are moderately fatiguing, you're going to feel it the next day, especially if you haven't done adductors for a while. I hadn't really hit an adductor set for, I don't know, basically months. And I just did some after that leg day at Armbrust Pro Gym in Colorado. And my adductors were wrecked for like 3 days afterward. So if you haven't sat on essentially the ball crusher machine ever, maybe ease into it, because if you have extremely sore adductors because you kind of overdo it, and I mean, just because they're not used all the time, they're pretty strong. You know, you can wreck your adductors in a good way. Probably the worst that I've ever felt, I couldn't say exactly when this was, within the last year, maybe year and a half, but my adductors were so sore that I could barely even get comfortable sleeping. Just because if I laid on my back, just that force of my knees straightening out towards the bed was like making them super tense, and they were getting sore. And every time I'd flip over to my side, I'd have to flex my whatever opposite leg adductor to pull my leg over top the other one, and then that was killing me. And I couldn't sleep on my stomach because the same thing. Now I'm like sort of stretching, like leaning backwards almost, and it was I mean, that was probably my my worst night's sleep from soreness that I'd ever felt. But definitely something you should add in, especially if you're getting a bit more into heavier pressing. And by heavier pressing, I don't mean just heavier, but also less stable. You know, I've never pulled my adductor on a leg press, but I definitely have tweaked it on squats, Smith squats. Sometimes pendulum squats will even feel kind of bad if my adductors aren't like properly exposed to weight. So just something to keep in mind. I'd almost treat adductors as they're not the rotator cuff of your legs, but as a accessory muscle that gets activated pretty strongly. If your adductors fall behind, eventually you're gonna almost be forced to work them and make them catch up, because you're just gonna start kind of tweaking them. You know, I mean, when you're squatting however many plates you're working up to, that side to side like balancing, that's not just from, you know, putting more force through one quad than the other, like to keep yourself from moving side to side. A lot of that stability is also super internal. I mean, not to mention all the crazy like cross axial muscle groups that go from your hips up to your shoulders, like kind of internally in your torso. But even just looking at your adductors individually, like that's what's going to keep you stable. And if you've ever seen a video where someone's squatting and they fall side to side, that's probably the freakiest shit ever. Because at least if you fail a squat with the safeties, you can rest the bar directly on the safeties. But if you start to lose it one way or the other, I mean, how much are the safeties going to help you? Now you're basically putting your torso between however many hundreds of pounds that are on your back, and that steel, unforgiving safety that, you know, can hold, I don't know how many hundreds, maybe even thousands of pounds. So just something to keep your eye on, or something to keep in mind more so. But yeah, nothing else to say there. So I hope that within the next, from now plus the 10 minutes to get there, within the next 2 hours, I can go down to that little posing yoga room and feel like if I even start a body weight squat, my legs are just gonna crumple underneath me. So that's the goal. Let's see if I can make it happen. Okay. Holy shit. Whew. Alright. That felt way too heavy. Oh my goodness. Alright. Oh, let's move on to like a freaking machine press or something.
Holy crap. Let's go back and forth between pressing and lighter squeezing, leg extending. Main reason being, all the leg presses are taken. So I'm not gonna sit around and lose my pump and wait. You know, just gotta pivot. Ooh, shit. All right, one more, and I bet the leg press will open up. Oh, shit. Ooh, okay. All right. Maybe one more, actually. Whoa. Poof. Okay. All right. Let's go back to some extensions. Maybe just one with some sissy squats. And that'll be all for quads. All right. Yeah, this is gonna be the quad finisher. I think I'm overdue for a rest day. So if I do a little bit of an analysis, last arm day was heavy yesterday. Back day was all heavy rows and pull downs, like 8 rep, 10 rep sets. And then chest was decent. Actually, no, chest was super heavy with the incline barbell. So I think 4 super heavy days in a row might be taking its toll, but that's okay. I don't really take that as an L, more so just me saying, if I'm gonna alternate between a heavy day and a lighter day, maybe I should also alternate which body parts are which, so it's more evenly spread out. Like super heavy leg day, lighter chest day. super heavy back day, lighter arm day, and then alternate the two the next time around. But, oh, what I was gonna say. So this is gonna be a Jekyll and Hyde style set. So business in the front, light squeezing, holding, burning, 10 reps, then double the weight, burn out for as many as possible, and then jump behind me for sissy squats. That'll be perfect. Okay. Quads are trashed. Do I want to do a pose down or just keep going and move straight on the hamstrings? I guess we'll find out in about 1 second. So I'm doing adductors before I move on to hamstrings, just so I can kind of, really just so I can freaking catch my breath a little bit, but nothing crazy. I'm not even going crazy either. Just 10 squeezing, burning reps, and I try to get a really good stretch, just like overhead extensions, like really relax. Just be careful you don't tear your adductor, is all. All right. Yeah, that was like the 5th set. I'll do like 3 more and then pick a hamstring curl. I'll just show the one. They're pretty repetitive. My hamstrings are freaking thrashed. I don't know what I think. I wouldn't be surprised if by the time I finish that 4th set, I feel like there's coaches not gonna be able to get them. Let's go 1 notch heavier. There we go. Oh shit, 1 more. Okay. Holy shit, all right. Okay. I'm gonna go camp out of the calf machine, and I think I'll freaking see you in the car. Oh, whoa, holy crap. I was just freaking crumpled. Okay, I have a sneaking suspicion that I should probably take a rest day tomorrow. Now, that's not a guarantee. I'm not saying for sure I'm going to take a rest day. And historically, every time I've said that I'm going to take one, it doesn't really kind of end up panning out that way. But considering how heavy 5 plates just felt, and my back's still sore, chest not so much. Like, I think I could probably go in and still hit a pretty good chest pump. Like, even just feeling it flex now, that's kind of a good grading, not grading scale, but just sort of a litmus test on whether or not you can hit something. If you can really just flex it hard. Oh, 1 second. All right, there we go. Not exactly urgent business, but I've got a bad habit. I've got a bad habit of not instantly picking up phone calls. I'm kind of working on it. And then you get in this loop where, like, you ever not answer somebody's text, and then it's been so long that now you feel weird to even answer it, and then that's on me. I'm trying to work on that. But getting back to what I was just saying, you can kind of, if you're flexing your arm and you can really squeeze the crap out of your triceps, and they don't feel tender or anything, they're just like they're just ready to go. Well, then you can probably train them, and you'll be solid. But one more thing, which I think is an unspoken, let's just say, measurement on your overall, like, freshness, because when we're talking about, am I recovered enough to hit a specific body part, maybe that body part itself is recovered and is fresh enough to be hit, but I could be in a little bit of an overtrained, and overtrained is not the right word, more so under recovered, and or just like gradually getting exposed to more intense training. Because if you're a beginner dude, you've never trained before, you do a full push-pull legs loop that you have one of your buddies take you through, and you really bring it, you're going to be, it's going to feel like you got hit by a bus. If you get taken through a legit push-pull leg day, not all in one day, but 3 days in a row, never trained before, you got some pre-workout in your system, maybe I wouldn't recommend this, but let's say maybe your buddy's like, here, have some Super Thavage, have a full scoop for the first workout ever. After those 3, you're gonna feel like you've been beaten up. You're totally whooped. Does that mean you're overtrained? I wouldn't say so. I would say that's you're just experiencing the adaptation of getting used to that level of intensity. Because maybe you take 2 or 3 days off and then come back and do it again. Well, now, going through that whole loop for a second time, that push-pull legs, even if you brought it to the same level of intensity, maybe even a little more, isn't going to hit you so hard. Even just after one loop of doing a push-pull legs, rest, maybe 2 days of rest, 3, however many, and then coming back, after just 1 week, you're already a little bit more used to it, and you can handle that training. So that's what I'm kind of going through right now. I've been on 6 months of light squeezing, just pump work for this last prep, because all I had to do was maintain the muscle that I had, not hurt myself, and do a freaking crap ton of cardio. So now that I've got some more food in my system and I can really bring it set wise, I gotta almost get used to that. So I think having a bunch of those heavy days in a row has kind of hit me. But that is not to say that I can't keep training that heavy going forward. It's more so, it's just going to take me a little bit to get used to it, So in that getting used to it portion, that's me taking an extra rest day, coming back and doing some more light squeezing days, things like that. So, I'll see how I feel tomorrow, but one way that you can basically gauge your recovery, and I don't want to say whether you've overtrained, I just want to say gauge your morning's freshness level, right? How ready you are, how recovered you are more systemically than just on like a muscle by muscle basis. Obviously I'm a bit more bro sciencey meatheadish with my logic, where it's like I'd rather go than not go. If even if I'm sore, I would definitely rather go than not go. Of course, I know rest days are sometimes more let's just say more productive. So I'm not saying never take a rest day, but I only want to take them when I know it's going to be productive. So one way that you can tell is just your grip strength. So not only, you don't even need a dynamometer or whatever the grip strength machine is. I think that's it, but I might be wrong. Where you actually measure the force of your grip and it'll have a screen. My strongest was a 212 on the left hand. Right hand is always a little bit weaker, and I don't know why. I just can't get as good of a grip. Like on my left hand, I feel like I can really grab it and just put all my force into that little grip strength reading. But on the right hand, it almost wants to slip out from the bottom of my hand. I don't know. Maybe I just don't have as much calluses down here or something. Whatever. But just how strong you can make a fist and squeeze. Once you do this a few times and you've felt that feeling when you're fresh versus when you felt that feeling when you're maybe under recovered. Like next time you barely get any sleep, you're dehydrated, you haven't eaten for a little while, or you have eaten but you've only been eating like trash, like straight up. Or, let's just say next time you have a crazy flight or like a really busy day or whatever, and you can tell that you just feel, oh, I'm just freaking exhausted, right? Try to make a fist and just squeeze it as hard as you can. And just feel how much force you can actually put into it. When you're fresh and well recovered, you'll feel it. You'll just feel everything from your freaking wrist down to the bottom of your forearm be able to tense as hard as possible. But on a day where you're weaker and you're under recovered, not so much. So I didn't come up with this. I heard this somewhere from some other guy who's probably smarter than me in a lot of different ways. But that correlation of just sort of systemic fatigue to grip strength is pretty well correlated, Now that's relative to your grip strength. Just because you have a strong grip doesn't mean you're never fatigued, So just keep that in mind. So maybe next time you think you want to go for something kind of wild, but you're not really sure how you're feeling, okay, I want to do a really insane chest day today. Sometimes that's a good test, right? Just your, let's just say flex ability. And if you can feel, oh, it's not there, maybe don't go for your 1 rep max. Maybe don't go for something heavier than you think you should. Or if you can really tell, dude, that might be a good indicator for a rest day. And that I like the logic of a lot more than just guessing, because when it comes to rest, let's take this to the extreme. If you rest all the time, you're never going to grow because you're not going to be in the gym giving yourself stimulus. So on the scale of all rest to all training, I think the peak is going to be a little more lean towards that all training side. Now, it's not all the way, obviously you need a bit of rest, but, when necessary. When necessary is the theme. But for calves, I just parked on the seated calf raise. I did 6 sets of single leg for 15 reps, just with 1 plate, and really kind of squeezed it. So 15 on the left, 15 on the right, repeat a couple times, and then put 3 plates onto it, do double leg sets of 20, a little bit more bouncing, kind of pumpish. And then before you know it, just even standing up out of the out of the machine, my calves are freaking wrecked. I know that guy. But yeah, so plan now, go home, sit in the sun a little bit, eat something, edit this thing together, and on heavy quad days, I'm doing no cardio. That counts as my no cardio day. Just because if I sat on the bike for 30 minutes, at this point, my quads are already sort of wrecked. I don't think that 30 minutes of pedaling on the bike is going to help. Plus, a pretty heavy quad day is, pretty freaking stimulating on its own. But that's all I got. Solid leg day. Thank you for tuning in. I know that leg days are a little more sparse with the viewership, so I know you're a real one for coming to see some weights get thrown around. And not just a real one in terms of tuning in, but is it crazy to say more of a real lifter because you appreciate some of the more lower body training? Odds are you're not going to tune into a leg day if you skip legs. So I would assume if you're here,
that means you've been getting after it. Hell yeah. But yeah, nothing else to say. So I'm gonna go sweat in the sun, and I will see you for something tomorrow. Maybe you lift, maybe not, maybe something in between. I guess we'll freaking find out.